Hello everybody, I'm Oliver Hines, aka Demonization at underground.com, and I've met a lot of legends, but probably none quite so legendary as Angry Anderson of Rose Tattoo. How you going?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Well, I'm glad we settled everything about the angry business.
Yes. We'll explain that maybe a bit later. But
well, you know, by way of bringing everyone into a picture, you know, I often get asked, you know, if I'm still comfortable being called angry, and if I am, and I say, yeah, I'm very comfortable with it, because you know, it's become my name. It's become the name I'm known for, you know, like mostly. I mean, outside my family, everybody calls me Angry. I mean, I meet people in the street every day that I've never met before in my life, and they go, "Hey, Angry, how are you? It's good to meet you," blah, 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 whatever. But, you know, in the broader sense, in the deep and meaningful, there's still a lot in my life, you know, that I'm angry about.
yeah, I think everybody's got good reason to be angry, but whether you've got that release and work ethic to channel it, I suppose.
I saw a very wise thing. Every now and again on Fuckface, we can let us...
Yes, wherever you want.
Okay.
Just don't say the C word.
Oh, Fuckface, Facebook. It said, oh yeah, it's Are You OK Day at home.
Yeah.
Right, so, you know, being someone who has dealt with depression their whole life, and I deal with it very successfully, I might add. These days, there was a time I didn't. I'm always involved in Mental Health Week, but it was a great wisdom on there. Someone posted this, go, yeah, it's Are You OK Day, which lasts, call it Are You OK Day, but it lasts a month, which is, you know, but, and they said, like, and then for the rest of the year we go back to demonising white heterosexual males and beating them up for being just that. And I thought, I wonder how old that person is for a start.
Yeah.
But, you know, because I have an inkling it might have been a younger person.
Right.
But such insight, you know, that the whole, you know, and it just hasn't happened overnight, going back to what makes me angry. This demonisation of white heterosexual males started, you know, I first started picking up on it about 12 years ago.
Right.
And it was just things that you read here and there, and like you go, whoa, you know, there's a bank somewhere that's got trigger words. So if you use the words, because you know they watch us through our phones and whatever, we all know that.
You use the word terrorist or something like
that.
Flag
Yeah. So if you use a certain set of words, often in context with other words, that there's this computer bank that, you know, Apple have sold to the bad guys. This data. So a computer somewhere picks up on that. Oh, you said that 6 times in the last 2 days talking about. So all of a sudden you become a person of interest, you know, because there's these trigger words, you know, it's kind of like... So I started picking up on... I'm not saying I'm smarter than the average bowling ball, but, you know, some things just like, you go, oh, I read that about a month ago, something similar, you know. So I picked up on this demonisation thing, but then again, I've always been, this will get me in a lot of fucking trouble here, I've always been suspicious of the, any movement that is radicalised very easily, or starts out being radical, which is why I'm not radically far right. My upbringing, actually, you know, I grew up in a Labor household, so somewhere along my self-educational process, I moved to the right. Having said that, they're just as bad as one another these days, because they're all complicit. They've got the same aim in mind. They're just going to go about it. As long as we keep thinking, oh, well, we'll vote this way, because this will make a difference against them. What most people don't realise, but they're waking up to, is this really doesn't matter, because they're both against us. You know, and that's why there's all these radical smaller parties, particularly in Europe, and let's not get into that, but in Europe the right minorities are now starting to get a bigger vote, because the left have taken over so many years ago. There's no, you know, maybe the worst or best example might actually be here in Britain. But as someone who is part British in the sense that my ancestry goes back to Scotland, Anderson.
Yeah.
I've always felt, I remember the first time I came here, I think it was 1980 or something.
Okay.
And one of the things that, we talked about amongst ourselves in the band was that we felt a real kinship. We felt this was like, wow, not deja vu, but
no, but it was like your home.
I get this. It's like, yes, it was like coming home to, to your spiritual home sort of thing,
Okay.
And real or imagined, and let's face it, like a lot of things that are in our heads, it's, we think that way, so it is, if you know. But I remember when I first went to Edinburgh Castle and asked about our family name, and, and I was given an example. They gave you a swatch of the tartan, and I never knew that we had a crest, and
right.
our family saying is stand sure, and our crest is an oak tree, and that's and there's a tartan, and there's like these other the shield. This is really cool. The shield is a black and two black squares and two white squares, and in the black squares is like an old depiction of a cross. It's got two crossbars.
Yeah.
And that's white in the black, and there's black in the white, and that's yin and yang. I thought, fuck yeah, that really made. But what I'm trying to say is that like, I felt a strong pull. Now that might be psychosomatic, but it might be real too.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of English people with Irish ancestry will feel the same when they go and visit Ireland.
Yeah.
And everyone, I think, with any sort of ancestry, because you're naturally interested in it, I think. If you go, oh, where's my main cover? Oh, it actually comes from Spain. Well, I'll go check it out then.
Yeah.
And then you get there and because you've got that interest anyway, well, it might not be a strong interest to begin with, but you've got that link, then you will feel akin to it,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that is entirely true. I think there are things about I know there are things about our life existence that we are yet to understand. It's kind of like, my kids are obsessed with this, this whole thing that's going on at the moment about extraterrestrials or aliens in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Right, because my boys are right into, the three of them are gamers, but they're all into that stuff. So I'm getting fed that off them. And all of a sudden I've started looking up stuff about aliens and buildings on the, like on the moon and in Antarctica especially, because that's part of our planet, Anyway, let's go back to your question.
Well,
we'll be here all fucking day.
Might as well be, but believe it or not, we're here for a rock show.
Right, yeah.
And part of the press surrounding the tour is the anniversary of Blood Brothers.
Yeah.
Which was about 10, 11 years ago.
Outlaw. Which is 40.
Okay.
Yeah. The anniversary that we talk about is the anniversary of, and I'll tell you something now because it's no longer a secret. When we go home, we're going to re-record the first album, which was called Rock and Roll Outlaws here. It was always meant to be that.
Yeah.
But it was released as just Rose Tattoo.
Yeah.
In America, I think, and I think at home. But it's the 40th anniversary. We're going to re-record the whole album with this lineup.
Cool.
And the other thing too, which was rather cool, because when Thomas Jensen, who manages us, he said, like, we'll get some supports, and I said, you know what? Years and years and years ago, when we first toured here, we did a lot of gigs with the girls, and I said it'd be really nice. Are they still, they're still operable? I hear about them from time to time. I said, Thomas asked them if they'd be interested, and it just so happens it's an anniversary for them too. So it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect for us. I think it's the anniversary that I put together.
Yeah.
40 years ago this year.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So it's really cool in a nostalgic sense to be touring with Girls School, and they are so all, you know, I only think there's, you know, well, there's a couple of new members from the old days, but
yeah, but Enid's still there, and
yeah,
Denise. So,
yeah,
no,
it's very cool.
Yeah, no, they're a quality band, quality live as well. They're excellent.
Ah, I love them.
Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah. But what I was going to ask was that it's been, because I saw you on the Blood Brothers tour at Grasspop in Belgium,
Oh, okay.
and you were fucking brilliant.
Thank
And I'm not,
Thanks.
I say not blowing smoke up your ass, but if you look at some of the other bands on that day, Iron Maiden and whatever else, oh, who was the band? Rose Tattoo. Because I just remember you walking on stage and going, Gene Simmons stood in this spot last night, I'm not fucking moving. And I thought, that's great, this is going to be fun, you know, and it was fucking great. But what I was wondering was, after a decade or so, had you looked back on Blood Brothers as an album compared to the earlier works, and how has it aged?
One of the things, like, we were not going to get sucked into, and we've had our own personal problems which play a part too, but we were never ever going to be a band that, and we, you know, we came at a disagreement with the record company. We weren't ever going to be putting out an album a year, which in those days was fairly, you know, album every year to 18 months. And I mean, you know, we're all very much aware of the fact that it takes a few years to write your first album. So if it takes 2 or 3 years to get an album together, and then like all of a sudden that album, like, yeah, this is them, right? So it stands to reason that it will take that much amount of time to do another one. It's follow-up. You're not going to be able to rush it out. But anyway, like we said, you know, like I was about to say, the band has broken up, or members have left and members have come back, and those kind of things. So those dynamics. Well, we've never been a prolific album producer.
No.
Blood Brothers came about, and, you know, I mean, let's face it, sonically it's a far different album than the previous. Recording techniques have improved.
Yeah.
There's 3 tracks on it that Mick and I started writing here. There's a song called Creeper, which was written about, I just got here and started reading. I heard the term coined serial killer, and which was the first serial killer recognised profiles. It was Russian, but that's another story. But I read the book about the Sutcliffes, and I read Sutcliffe, and I can't even remember their name now, but they were the Moors murderers.
Oh, Hinckley, no, was it?
Husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, killed all these kids.
John Hinckley, no, not John Hinckley, is it? It doesn't matter.
Two really bad
They're
people.
fucking dead now, so.
Yeah. And then there was that other guy, years later, they knocked his house down and tore them
Oh,
and they
10 Willingdon Place, yeah.
Yeah, him, yeah. So anyway, Creeper is basically a very dark song about that, about, you know, the Moors murderers and Sutcliffe and those kind of people were starting to get away. So that goes back to that era, and of course there's some really brand new stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
Man About Town, you know, some of the songs on there like just came about in the studio, which is what we've always done.
Yeah.
Or Mick and I will sit down, and the other thing too, the driving thing behind it was 2 years before we put the lineup back together, we heard that Mick, you know, was dying, and so there was no saving him, right? He was destined to. So, you know, he came back and played, because, you know, Pete was on his way out in those very, very early days, and of course he could not tour anymore, so Dyer came in to replace him. But even the first album, which is the 5-Way Credit, predominantly all those songs Mick and I wrote.
Right.
And the bulk of Rose Tattoo's material has always been from ideas we developed with the band, or it was Mick and I. Can't Be Beaten, obviously, which is off Scarred. That was written with Riley, as was Scarred for Life. But yeah, I mean, really identifiable songwriting style.
Yeah.
And plus the fact I wanted to do one more album with Mick. Then the dark humour of the way men handle grief. I remember him saying, sales were a bit slow at the beginning, and he said, well, they'll pick up in a couple of years, because he knew he wouldn't be around.
Yeah.
And people might buy the album because he died, but just sometimes have difficulty dealing with it. But anyway, having said that, I was very, very, very glad we did, because that was his last statement. That was his last go around. And 2008, which was the year later, that was his last tour. Because we finished up, I think, September.
Right.
And it wasn't long after that he died.
But what statements go out on that? It's a quality album. So,
thank you.
Well,
I am encouraged, if you like, by how differently. I mean, this band will play. Like I said, they're going to re-record the first album, and they play the songs authentically. They play them. I mean, there's difference. You'll hear the differences, but they still play great homage to the material and play the songs the way they should be played.
Yeah.
With heart, with conviction, and but Dorian Bobby have already started writing, spurred by the ideas they're coming up with just by playing together as a band. So. All of a sudden, like 2 years ago, someone said to me, "Do you think you'll create another album?" And it wasn't just because I didn't want an album to come out after Mick had gone, but I thought, you know what? In the same way that Pete always wanted it, like towards the end, then I asked him, both of us knowing that he was dying, Mick the same, but Pete predominantly. I said, "What do you want me to do?" And he said, "They'll probably expect you to fold." And he just looked at me and he said, "Fuck them." And I thought, okay, the boss said fuck them, so fuck them it'll be. So fuck them. I thought we were going to roll over and die. Well, we got fucking news for you. And because Pete, late in the picture, he started to say some things to me that were quite sort of personally revealing, but then it's like you get to that point where there's no more time for playing, there's no more time for bullshit, there's no more, this is real.
Yeah.
So it's real between two men. He was going to say things that he'd not said to me before. And he said, both of us knew what he was talking about, which was his impending death. And he said that in so many words. He said, "They'll expect you to fold." And there was this pause, and then he just looked, because he was laying down like this, and he just looked and he said, "Fuck them." So good enough for me.
Yeah, if ever there was a mission statement.
Yeah, but basically it was like, do what we've always done.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah. No, but it is great that you are still going and just...
They're a mighty band, this band.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a great lineup in this band now. So you got Mark that was in AC/DC, and Di's a fucking beast.
Yeah.
He's quality. Bobby's great as well. I remember he used to play with, was it Billy Fark he used to play with?
Yeah, he's played in as a long time member over years. The band called Skies were a huge pop band, but but he gave them that lovely hard edge, and then he played with the Angels for fucking years, and gave them that drive, which they don't, even with the two Brewsters are back together now. They've reformed the band, and they're sort of like, they'll never be the same, like as it was, but they play the music beautifully. And the two brothers was the original combination. But they don't have that edge that Bobby gave him, And he's one of those people, you don't judge a book by its cover.
No.
Because he's got, we call him the Gandhi of guitar, but he's got that that whole sort of like really laid back sort of, you know, he's a bit of a hippie, you know, a bit of a lefty, you know, and loves everybody, and which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but you know what I mean, like he's like the softer soul, if you like, but as a guitar player, and I've known him since he was 17, as a guitar player, he's a fucking animal, which is, so he gets to be what he, you know, the other part of him, he gets to be that on stage, which he's not like that in his day-to-day life.
No, again, it's a great therapy, it's a great release. It's artistic expression.
Exactly. So, and it all comes out on stage, which is just great, because you never know what he's going to do next. I mean, he's always there to play the parts, but as a guitar player, fuck me.
No,
he's a beast.
I've seen videos on that, and he is.
And Jackie, you know, like he's only done this run. We had another great Australian drummer, Johnny Watskin. He was playing drums last time, June, but we weren't here.
Right.
We were only over there, over the trench. But yeah, you know, Jackie's. Actually, it was funny. We walked in the band room, and there's a picture of his dad on the wall, and he was over here playing this gig with his dad previously. Now he's back with us, but he's slotted in really good too.
Good.
Yeah, he's a fucking animal. But you know, everyone, particularly on the seat, they all understand that's until DeMarco gets out of jail, and then if he can travel and get visas and stuff, he'll.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an interview with Bobby and Di, and they were saying about one of DeMarco's holidays, and I thought, the fuck are they talking about? So I had to look it up. And so I wasn't sure.
He's on holidays.
Yeah.
Oh, they're funny, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're fucking hilarious.
So I wasn't sure if Jackie was a permanent member now.
Nah, well, you know.
See how it goes. But
DeMarco will be out. He'll be out on parole because he got 6 out of 10.
Right.
So he'll be out on parole next year at the earliest. But 2020 he's done his 6.
Right.
So, but then it's, you know, we're in the process now of applying for visas to get him out of Australia. And we've got to apply to America, and we've got to apply to Britain. And see, and I thought the EU, if you're all members of the EU, if you've got a visa to get into one, that's it. You know, you get it into EU, but it's not like that. Visas
they still have their own national borders and that kind of thing.
So we've got to apply for a visa for all the countries,
right,
which is going to cost a few bob. But, you know, I said to him, you know, I visited him probably, he'd only been in jail for 2 weeks, and he was allowed then to have visitors. So I went with his wife and daughter, and he'd already done dry out. As soon as he got in, they said, look, you know, we'll medicate you.
right,
Because he went in as a known ice addict.
okay,
Which is why he got into fucking all the trouble he got into anyway, you know, because he got mixed up with some very heavy crims, and you know, selling guns is
it's not looked upon favourably.
it's not looked upon favourably by anybody.
No.
But anyway, having said that, it's funny, you know, because if it was there was charges laid against the other people that were involved to conspire to import highly illegal weapons into Australia and sell, and to import and that's therefore supply ice.
Okay.
Now, because DeMarco was down the chain, he wasn't involved in that part of the business.
No.
So he didn't know. So he never got charged with. He got charged with possession, but he never got charged with. And he would never. It was never a charge that was brought up in court. So he wasn't tried for. He was never even charged with like being an addict. Because as soon as he went to jail, he said, "No, I'll go typical DeMarco. No, fuck that. I'll go cold turkey." So they locked him up for 2 weeks in a cell and just fucking let him sweat it out.
Yeah.
And but that's DeMarco, you know, he's fucking hard as iron. And so that once he got out, he did a shrink, and she said, "Mate, he's like fucking totally clean." because you know, I mean, you can get on in jail if you want to. I mean, everyone knows that, you know. So he could have, and no, he said no. Plus the fact that he was, you know, he was associated with these other people who were like big names, big hitters in the crime scene at home, and you know, so he had a certain amount of protection, if you like, or availability, and he never took advantage of it. He said, "No, I'm done." So yeah, fucking oath. So I visited him like a couple of weeks after, like a week or so after he'd come out of the sweatbox, and I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Mate, I'm fucking clean." He said, "Mate, I can't believe it, how good I feel." He said, "I'm thinking straight." He said, "Back in the gym, you know, because you know, as a kid he was an amateur boxer."
Okay.
And he said, "You know, I'm feeling good about myself." He said, "Oh, fucking," you know, broke down. We had a bit of a hug and a cry, and he said, "I'm sorry about what happened." I said, "Mate, you know, it's what happened. You know, it's done now. Let's put it behind us." I said, "You got a big job ahead of you. You know, with the family, with the band," and he reached across the table and grabbed me fucking, it's like being held in a fucking vice. He grabbed me hands and he said, "Dang," he said, I'm clean. You know, I got to come back to the band," because so we parted ways before we went to jail. And I said, "Mate, if you come, you are clean." I said, "If you stay that way, you get out. You know, job's always yours." You know, I said, "But if you fucking put a foot in the wrong direction," I said, "that's it, it's over."
Well, yeah.
You know. But like I said, a lot of people walked away from him. A lot of people.
Well, not just Rose Tattoo, but I think Australian rock in general has this reputation for being very... There's no pretentiousness to it. There probably are some...
Oh yeah, there are a few.
Hippie bands or whatever.
But not from our era.
No. But Australian rock as a whole, I think internationally anyway, people look at it as working man's hard rock, no bollocks. Yourself, AC/DC, and then later on Airborne, all these other bands. It's just great fucking rock and roll.
Yep.
Was it about Australia that creates that kind of...
It goes back to the first minutes of our conversation. We all know that it's partly you know, where you come from, and all of us have got that common thing. All the foundation members, all the people, like we are so we're multicultural. We're not multiculturalists, but we are like Bobby's Italian by parentage. Di's Welsh. Jackie's half Scottish, half Thai. I'm half Australian, half Mauritian. And Mark's Jewish. That's his parentage or his heritage. So yeah, we're laughing about that. We're calling ourselves the multicultural band these days. But it's, yeah, getting back to that, it's how you're brought up. And we're all brought up, most of us grew up in Melbourne. Whereas, you know, in the early days it was like, it was just me and Geordie. I think the rest of them were from elsewhere, but it's really got to do with the you know, the things that we have in common with this island. You know what I mean? Like with these people, your people, and we inherited that. It's like it's DNA, so it's undeniable. I'm going to actually do the DNA thing. Okay. An ex of mine, who I've been the only ex that I've been able to stay friends with, she just did hers and it revealed some amazing things. And I spoke to a bloke after she said to me, she said, "Look, you know, you should do this DNA thing. It's like, because there's a bit of mystery in our family which I can't sort of get anyone, or they're all dead now. Most of the family are dead anyway." But she said, anyway, I spoke to this bloke about this thing, and he said, that's what I do. I was in Canberra doing a talk on men's mental health. And He said, well, that's what I do. He said, I work on DNA as a research scientist for medicine, not DNA as in ancestry. He said, but I know a lot about all that stuff because the two things are obviously linked. He said, mate, we can narrow down through your DNA where you came from to a village.
Fuck hell. Didn't realise.
As long as there's more than I think, like 60 people involved, or like it's less than 100,
yeah,
they can nail you down. You've got the DNA that belongs to that area.
Right.
And, pluck a name, say like Glastonbury or whatever. If that village that you originally sprung from is not there, likelihood is that the village that is there now was built on top of it.
Okay.
Because that's what happened in those days.
Yeah.
Whether a fortification fell down or whatever, but it was already the foundations there, so that's built the town. So, and I remember years and years and years ago when I was talking about these very things with Richie Blackmore. Actually, we had a conversation about it. But this is when we first came here, I was very interested in like the stone thing, the circles and all that. And it was a bit of a shame because there was thousands of circles in Britain in those days, thousands and thousands. A lot of them were torn down to build fences and or the foundations for houses or churches or whatever. And the blocks were cut up or the blocks were used as a foundation or whatever. But there's some of the most sacred sites have been built on because they were built so well by whoever or whatever. Let's not get into that. But I'm absolutely convinced, and not just because I've read it in so many books, but I say something sometimes from the stage, and I just want to sort of plant ideas in people's heads, and I'll say, you got to know where you come from, because if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you are now. And if you don't know where you are now, you don't know where you haven't got any possible fucking idea of where you're headed. Yeah. And it's a way of saying to people that they need to identify with this very thing we're talking about. And that is, well, where do I belong? What are my roots? What's my ancestry? See, these days, is again getting back to what makes me angry. The whole PC thing, they don't want you to fucking know about your history. They want to rewrite history. They want the exploration. They want to call that now. Well, that was all about conquest. Yeah. It's about the white heterosexual male being so fucking evil that they've got to go out and enslave the world. Well, that might have been a byproduct. But historically speaking, the Middle East, Islam is responsible for enslaving millions and millions and millions of more people than Britain or America or any of the other people who got involved in the slave trade. The worst slave traders in the world from Arab countries, Arabs. But that's just historically. It doesn't mean they will do it now. I mean, they do, but...
but again, that happened even in like Japan, things like that.
But it's happening now in places like Burma and it's right under our noses. Yeah. And they're enslaving people, not their own people, let alone other people from... people go there for, I remember years and years ago talking to someone about, this is when we first started cut back here to tour, and we used to base ourselves out of Hamburg. Okay. And I remember talking to some people there about, and they were ex-military, and they were in security. And they were talking about, they said, well, a lot of the people that came here, the Turks and came here on 3-year work permits, but they were treated really badly and paid poor wages and blah, 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 blah. But it's fucking living in Hamburg in a shithole of an apartment is far better than living in a fucking shithole in Turkey or, where they were scratching to fucking get enough money to get to bake a loaf of bread. So, but he said, they were treated very badly and they didn't want to go home because it was, even though they'd been treated badly, they were used as far as, foreign labour. well, you work for this or don't fucking work at all. Well, of course, you know, it's better than what you had.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I get that the slavery thing goes, but you know, it's not. It's where we are. I mean, Australia is a, you know, it's an eastern country.
Yeah.
You know, physically, and fucking slavery around the Orient is just out of control.
Mm.
And we, you know, we've always known that, which is why I know this is convoluted, but again, it goes back to my distrust and my loathing of the UN, because if they'd have been living up to their job, and they get fucking handsomely paid for their job, you know, we'd be dealing with all those sort of things, you know. Like, I remember years ago getting involved through gangs when I was doing television. And as a young worker came out from Cabramatta, which is largely a Vietnamese enclave in Australia. And he was working with gangs. And, you know, I went out there and used to sort of hand out trophies and stuff to people that had completed a rehab course or a, you know, like won an art competition, and well, all this really deeply troubled kids. And I met some of these young gang members, you know, like, you know, surprise, they're all fucking Mad Tats fans. But having said that, I remember talking to this one young guy, and he was called the Tiger. He had this amazing tiger on his back, tattoo. And he was about my size, half my weight, and he was fucking, you know, he killed people. But well known in the area, and he was his nickname was the Tiger. And he was sort of like in his late 20s. He was a boat, you know, came off one of the boat. He was one of the boat people that came from Vietnam. And as a kid, he grew up as a criminal. That's all he's known, you know. So, mum and dad, you know, practicing Buddhists, they're fucking beautiful people, blah, blah, blah. And this comes, you know, he's run amok. Oh, sorry, I'm allowed to say that.
No. When I said the C word, Chelsea, you can say cunt all day long like this.
Say Chelsea. That's funny. I'll tell you a funny story about that in a minute, about how I wrote Can't Be Beaten. But, yeah, and he said to me, he said, you know, I want you to do something about this. And I said, what's that? He said, the child slavery. He said, they go into villages, and this is like, I was doing mainstream television then, so I was in the 80s. From 85 to 90, I did this show called Midday Show.
Right.
This is after the Tats folded.
Yeah. I've heard a little bit about it, but obviously it was well before it's my time, and Terry probably didn't get shown over here.
Yeah, well, I spent quite a few years working in television.
Yeah.
Not full time, but, you know. And he said, you know, there's this thing over there where they go and they pay the people who run orphanages to take these children, and they, you know, the girls, particularly the girls, they sexually exploit them. They put them into working. But he said the demand for the girls was so strong, they'd go into a village, they go into the mountains, and he said they would offer the parents, you know, we'll buy your daughter, she's like 10, and we'll take her to the city, and, you know, she's got to do this and got to do that. They don't tell her that she's going to be a prostitute in a brothel. But, you know, and we'll educate her and we'll look after her. So they buy the child. And that's the last appearance I've ever seen the child. So she gets sold into a brothel and at the age of 10, because there's fucking pedophiles. Don't get me started on that. You know, being a survivor myself, but that's another story. But the thing about, talk about Chelsea.
Said it again.
I wrote Can't Be Beaten at a football match. I can't remember who the other team was, but I remember when we first moved here, we were rehearsing at John Henry's, and it's down near the Arsenal ground.
Oh, okay. So just down the road then, really. And
so we used to go to the pub after rehearsal. AC/DC were there, the Leopard were there, Iron Maiden, you know, there's a bunch of us. Anyway, he said, you know, like, we're all mad fucking football fanatics in Australia. So another thing we get rid of today off you people. But we said, well, we're going to follow somebody. And they said, well, it's our team, Arsenal. We're drinking in a pub, you know, Arsenal everywhere.
Yeah.
And the ground wasn't too far away from these rehearsal studios called John Henry's. I fucking hope they're still there. Anyway, I remember being at an Arsenal, and we weren't doing too well that year. I think it was 80. 80, 81. But, and it was raining, and we were standing out there with a fucking soggy pie in one hand and a fucking pint in the other, and typical, you know, like, watching a footy match.
British culture, yeah.
Yeah, fucking oath.
Shit food.
We were soaking it up, you know. I'm standing there, and I remember the fucking rain splashing in the top of my beer, and you know, come half time, I think it was like 2 or 3-0, and like it was obvious that we're getting, and we, like I said, we weren't doing too well that year anyway.
Yeah.
And the crowd was singing. Yeah. And the fucking, every time they'd go for a goal, they'd get right up there, and you know, the other team was, I can't even remember who the other team were, it's irrelevant. But they kicked the ball away, and this fucking groan to go around the ground.
Yeah.
We all felt it so strongly, and then all of a sudden, someone would hear a voice, start singing the Arsenal, and everyone fucking sang. And it wasn't just the Arsenal song, but it was like songs, you know, like, and I just thought, fuck, this is amazing. And I thought, this is where we get it from.
Yeah.
Going back to the DNA. Doesn't matter how fucking down you are, it's just like, gives you more reason to get up and sing. And I literally, this is the romantic story, but it's absolutely fucking true. This lyric came into my head, like, we can't be beaten. No matter what they fucking do to us, we can't be beaten. We're belligerent fucking arseholes who just fucking will not give up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went in, and I had a pen on me or whatever, but I had a pen, and I remember finding a cigarette packet. And I'd learnt this anyway, because I'd done it before, but you know, where it's glued, you just tear it open, and you can fold it out. So you get quite a bit of area, and I just sat in the bog, you know, with me washed out pie, me fucking half a pint, and I wrote, shoulder to shoulder, we'll fight and die to the very last man.
Yeah.
And I wrote the song in the bog, and I came out, and we scored a goal, still went down like 4-1 or something.
Yeah.
But that's how I wrote Can't Be Beaten at an Arsenal match. Years later, when I come over here, which was fucking, I think it was 88, whatever, and I came over here to do Top of the Pops with Suddenly.
Yeah.
And I told this story before, and I was invited to go down. They took me through a tour of all the club rooms, the trophy rooms. I had my photo taken out on the pitch at the Arsenal ground. Yeah.
Especially not now, it's gone. But,
oh, was it?
yeah, they've got a new stadium now.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Nice stadium by all accounts, but...
Oh, mate, it was... Oh, yeah. I mean...
Yeah. But the old one, Highbury, my granddad used to live right around the corner. So we go to the top of his council flat, and you could basically just watch the match. Didn't help that we were QPR fans, but football. Yeah. Like, thank you ever so much for taking the time to speak to me.
Oh, no, are we done?
Yeah, I mean, we've been going for quite a while, I think.
What, you ran out of film?
Very nearly.